Hello, I'm going to talk about the ELB CloudFormation blueprint today. This blueprint can provision a load balancer that's either application or network both load balancer. Both are supported. It's just some configurations that you have to adjust. So speaking of configurations, all the properties here are configurable with parameters, and the ones that are not are configurable generally variables. So the blueprint is pretty flexible, and you could customize it and configure it for your needs. By default, application load balancer is created, and today we're going to actually cover the application load balancer. You can assign existing security groups to the ELB, or you can have the blueprint create and manage this security group for you. There are pros and cons with both approaches. A listener and target groups also create an automatically setup, and then you also create a managed Route 53 record that points to the ELB endpoint. Okay, so I usually don't create the load balancers kind of independently, but sometimes I do. When you create a load balancer independently, the big benefit is you actually can play around with it and destroy it. So it's a great way to kind of experiment and learn. Usually I actually create a load balancer with an auto-scaling group and connect everything together there. So and there's another blueprint that will cover that in another video of that. But I just want to briefly mention that. So to use this, you just add the blueprint to your gem file with this line right here. Then you configure your configuration files with the Lono seed. Lono seed just generates the initial starter configs, and there you can go in there and then modify everything. Then you just run Lono CFN deploy, and that creates the load balancer. I'm only going to do it for development for the sake of the demo in this video. Here's some more details about other things you configure. I mentioned that you could use existing security groups. To do that for this blueprint, you just actually assign this parameter with a comma separate list of security group IDs, and then it's going to use the existing security groups instead of creating a managed security group for you. If you opt to not assign this, so this is blank, and you don't assign it, then it's going to create a managed security group, and then you can actually codify the security group ingress rules here with a variable. So here's an example of just configuring the ingress security group rules examples. So it's basically open the world, port 80 to the world, and port 443 to the world. Load balancer attributes, those are configurable via variables here too. Basically, any attribute is configurable here. You just assign this variable here, and then you just put your array of hashes with the key value here for each hash. You can set up a pretty endpoint with the Route 53 record by just specifying the DNS name and the host name. SSL termination supported. You just provide your certification ARN right here, and then your port, and then your protocol, and then that should all work. You can also register targets. So this load balancer is kind of a standalone load balancer. But if you wanted to, and you already have some running instances, you can actually use a variable and just assign the targets here, like the instance ID and the ports here, and then it will automatically register them, and then this actually will codify that. But again, I usually do this with auto-scaling groups with a load balancer. But it's an option there, just in case you want to do that. Here's some information about network load balancers, which we're not going to cover today. But network load balancers I'm going to cover in another video. And finally, advanced properties customizations here. Here are basically other ways you can configure the properties, and it's basically a variable, and you just go down there and override things. Okay. So with that being done, we're ready to jump into the demo, the application load balancer demo. Let's go to the project here, go to the gem file. Instead of adding it like that, I've been doing this. I've been adding it with the blueprint key method, because the blueprint method is defined right here, and just a wrapper for the same gem call. Okay, so that's going to give us the load balancer, which is the bundles to make it available. Standalone seed ELB to generate the configs. Here are the configs, so let's actually take a look at them. See if there's anything here required, anything we should maybe configure. So I'm just putting both of them, the things side by side. And here's the variables here. The variables are just kind of showing that's open to the world, because that will allow you to test it, essentially. And so I'm going to leave the variables alone. Let's take a look at the params, though. And see, there's subnets here. So for subnets, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this Lono built-in helper method. Oops, I typed helper. Called default subnets. And then that returns an array, so we have to join it, with a comma, because this is actually expecting us a comma separate list. So that's good there, and this is another required parameter, right? The VPC. So I'm also going to use default VPC. So that should pretty much kind of do it to spin up a load balancer. Again, there's a lot of other things you configure here, and it's all kind of grouped by the parameter groups right there. So hopefully that's pretty self-explanatory. And now we're going to go ahead and launch it. Lono cfn deploy ELB, sure. Okay. Just waiting for it to launch here. Okay, there's create in progress. So that now that I see that kind of pulling Lono, I'm going to go over here to console just to verify that it's also being created. So there goes. There's events. So load balancer does take a couple minutes to create. It's pretty quick, but it does still take a couple minutes. So I'm going to pause so y'all don't have to wait. Okay, so that finished creating. We can see it right here. That it took about 2 minutes or so. Over here, you can see 2 minutes and 22 seconds. Let's see the resources they create. Create a load balancer, a listener, a security group, and a target group. So let's go and go to the EC console and actually verify that the ELB got creating everything. We go here to load balancers. There it is right there, the ELB. Okay, and you kind of maybe scroll up like that. It's an application load balancer. There are the subnets. This is using all the default subnets here. And there's the default VPC. Remember, because that's what we configured as. Here's the security group that I got creating assigned to it. So everything's created there. If you click here, you see the listener. Then you click here on the target group. That's going to take you to the target group console. So here's the target group. And of course, there's no targets here. But again, you can configure that with variables and everything. But pretty much all these settings here, like health check and everything, that's configurable by parameters and everything and variables. So that should cover it. That covers the ELB CloudFormation blueprint. Hopefully that was helpful. Cheers.